Hello and welcome everybody to the Whole30 orientation for October's Whole30. So traditionally a Whole30 starts on the first day of the month. So being that it is our September, this is for our October Whole30. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Whole30 is, what foods we're gonna be eating, what foods we're not gonna be eating, why do a Whole30, a little bit more about myself and things like that. So just to give you a little bit of background about where I come from. First of all, my name is Sharissa Bradley. I am a nutritionist, but that's not my, that wasn't my traditional education. I first went to school for about 10 years and have a master's degree in psychology. And my undergraduate, I did an undergraduate thesis because I wanted to have a leg up to get into grad school. And I did a graduate thesis that was published, and both of those were in nutrition. So my undergraduate was nutrition understanding with our age population. And then my graduate thesis was in preschool age children, nutrition understanding, and how we could help to change younger minds so that we never develop the bad habits that we have at this point. Unfortunately, with that, children aren't really in control of what they're eating, you know, it's what is in their house. So we went back to this idea now that I've got to start from the top and work my way back down. So after I got my master's degree, I graduated and I started teaching. I thought I would be really fulfilled and super excited about, like, yay, I finally have the job that I really wanted. Two things happened, and I'm not exactly sure in which order they occurred. I got really depressed because I wasn't feeling fulfilled, and I didn't feel like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I'm not sure if which one happened first. I got really sick. Like really sick. I was sick for 2 years. And doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong. I had no energy. I couldn't get out of bed. And it wasn't just being depressed about my job. It was that I physically couldn't be upright for more than 2 hours at a time. And I had 2 little kids. I had I think my daughter was 2.5 and one was like almost 1. So I had brand new little babies. And just to back it up even a little bit further, when I was a young kid myself, my mom was sick. My mom has 5 autoimmune diseases and had colitis and a stomach hernia in her stomach. So she was either like sick from one end or the other. For about a year, she was in bed. She couldn't get out. She couldn't leave her room. When I was 11 years old, and I had 2 younger sisters, and that was a really difficult thing for me to have to go through. I had to grow up right away, become the mom to my sisters, take care of them, which I'm still doing now, and I love that, and I'm happy to be a part of that, have that role. But I thought that meant for me in my life that I needed to help people, and especially kids who had situations like that, who their mom was sick and they needed to be built up. So I went into child psychology thinking that that's where my life was gonna go, that I was gonna help these kids. Well, then when I graduated and I started on that path, and then I got sick myself. And now, back up 3 years, I was the sick mom. I was the mom that I was trying to help kids not have to go through the same situation that I did. And now I was doing it to my kids, and I was 27 years old. So I was laying in bed thinking, you know, I don't want to be here anymore. What's the point of this if I'm also going to be a sick mom? And after I decided to stop wallowing in my own self-pity and decided that I wasn't ever going to be sick and that I could reverse anything and that our body is perfectly capable of healing itself if we give it the opportunity, I dove into the research for as much as I could every day. I looked into things like reversing autoimmune diseases, healing autoimmune diseases, what are antibodies, what is happening to my body. And instead of accepting what the doctors had told me, that I was sick and that I was never going to get better and that the only thing I could do was to take the immunosuppressant drugs like prednisone, like methotrexate, and that was the only way I was going to continue my life. And at 27 years old, that's a big hit to take. That's a big blow to my ego, to someone who is by nature an overachiever, by nature someone who always wants to be continually growing, to tell me that I wasn't going to do any more with my life and I was going to always be in pain. Well, I couldn't take that. So I started researching, and it took me about 2 years, and I'm at the 2.5 year mark now in my own journey. And I learned, I actually was diagnosed at that time with 4 autoimmune diseases. So my mom had 5, I had 4. So very much in exactly the same position that my mom was in. Very much exactly the same position that I told myself I would never be in, and the position that I told myself I would never be this mom and I would always make sure to take care of the kids. Well, now my kids were suffering, and my sisters came and they took care of my kids for me because I was sick in bed. So after about 2 years, researching, doing all of the work, eating as best as I could, learning how to clean up my diet, I found the Whole30. Now the Whole30 at this point in my journey, I had already done so much for myself, but it matched very closely with an autoimmune disease diet. So it took me 6 months to reverse my autoimmune diseases. Something that the doctors told me would never happen. Now if I go and get my blood work done, if I go into the doctor's office, they take my blood, they check for antibodies, I don't register as with an autoimmune disease. Something they told me would never happen. And they wouldn't even believe it did happen unless I showed them the paperwork saying, no, this is what you told me a year ago. You told me that I would never be out of pain, that I would never feel better. And that the only thing I could do was stop eating gluten, which I didn't even know what that was, and take these drugs. I don't take any prescription medication, nothing. The only thing I do is really high quality supplements, some good superfoods, and I don't even necessarily think you always have to do those things either. If you can heal properly and absorb everything properly, you can get by with just a few things, what we call in the store the 5 essentials. And mostly we need those because we're not getting them in our diet anymore. We can't, it's impossible to get them in your diet. So I found the Whole30 at a time where I was very low, feeling very low about who I was, very low with, I had lost my hobbies. I was a runner, a competitive runner for 12 years. Couldn't run anymore because my bones were too weak. I have a very huge passion for cooking, and I lost my desire to be in the kitchen because I was afraid of food. Couldn't go grocery shopping because I would have an anxiety attack in the grocery store, so I just stopped eating. That was my solution to the problem when I was at my sickest. And when I found the Whole30, it felt like this amazing, eye-opening awakening for me. Wait a minute, you're telling me that there are foods that are causing me these problems, that if I just take them out, I can be healthy. And that's what it is. And food is medicine. And if we treat it like that, if we treat it like every single bite that we put in our mouth is either going to help us or it's going to hurt us, that changes the concept of what food is. Now we're no longer driving through the drive-thrus just to eat, because if we do, we know that the cells that come from that are going to be weaker than the cells that we had the day before. There are some cells in our stomach, just as like an anecdote here, there are some cells in our stomach that only live an hour, which means that a new cell is regenerated every hour. So that means if you eat breakfast and you think, oh, this donut isn't going to hurt me, no, that's not true, because that donut is aiding in the process of that new cell creation in your stomach that only lasted 1 hour. And do you think a donut from 1 hour, the cell with the donut from the hour previously is going to be a stronger cell or a weaker cell than it was before? Weaker, right? So if we think about food in this way, food as medicine, food making us stronger or food making us weaker, then we look at it in a totally different light. We don't get medicine that actually heals us from the drugstore. We get it from the farms, from the farmers markets, from these types of places. From the F-A-R-M-A-C, right? Pharmacy. That's Pia's word, I stole it. So, what I'm getting at and what I want to set the stage for is when I tell you there's things on the Whole30 that we're going to cut out. I don't want you to think of me as like, oh, Sharissa's trying to take my food away. No, Sharissa's trying to make your cells stronger so that your physical body fixes itself. Okay? We have cells, so every organ in our body regenerates itself. Everything. People tell you like, oh, that'll never heal. They're so full of it, they just haven't done the research, they don't understand. The longest cells in our body are our skeletal system. It takes 7 years to rebuild your skeletal system. Every 7 years, you have a brand new skeletal system. So starting right now, if you said to me like, oh, Sharissa, I have osteoporosis, I have osteopenia, or I'm going in that direction, if we did the right things, in 7 years, you could have a brand new skeletal system, and you're going to anyways, but it could be stronger. Isn't that something you'd want to do? Yeah, and it's something we want to do for our kids, right? If we could ensure that they never have to go through the things that we're going through now, because we know what to do. We know that there are genetic markers for autoimmune disease. We know that there are genetic markers for cancer, for all kinds of issues, right? For pancreas, for anything, for your pancreas, for your liver, for your gallbladder. We know that if something happened to your parents, that you're that much more likely to have it happen to you. That's our DNA, that's our genetics. But we can change the genetic expression. We can change what ends up showing up. And we don't have to be like that. And we don't have to be like we are today, tomorrow. We got new cells in our stomach that in an hour from now are going to be brand new. If you can make the right choices now, you're already regenerating in the right way, right? We can do this. Okay, now for the Whole30, it's a very specific set of things that you can and cannot eat. Now, if you have specific things that you want to do for yourselves, vegetarian, vegan, whatever it is, then you have to tailor it to you, okay? Because if you just try to live on, Whole30 without any meat or anything like that, it's going to be difficult. So let's talk specifically about those things, okay? All right. So what is a Whole30? A Whole30 is an elimination diet. Have you heard this word before, elimination diet? So an elimination diet is where we eliminate foods that we know cause problems in the digestive system and the rest of the body. And we add in foods that are really good, really high quality to help support, replenish, revitalize the body. And we give that 30 days. It takes 2 weeks to change your taste buds. Every 2 weeks your taste buds regenerate, right? Every cell in our body is regenerating. 2 weeks to change your taste buds. Takes 21 days to fight a sugar addiction. Takes 30 days to form a new habit. So we're hitting all of them with a Whole30. So that's why 30 days. Traditional medicine tells us that if we have a food allergy or a food sensitivity, the best way that they have to test for that is through our blood. So they take a blood test, or they do that prick test on your back and see what you react to. Both of those are checking for your blood reaction to food. What they end up being is a very expensive and inconvenient food diary. Okay, it's what your blood is reacting to, which means that your blood actually has to have particles of those things in it. Why are the food particles in your blood in the first place? Why isn't anybody asking this question? It shouldn't be in your blood, right? Our digestive system is supposed to be a sealed tract. We're supposed to go from esophagus, stomach, gallbladder, liver, help out. It goes down to our small, large intestine and comes out. We have a great waste management system. What is it doing in your blood in the first place? Okay, so I get people who come to me all the time who say, Sharissa, I'm allergic to bananas and avocados and blah, 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 blah. And I ask them, did you ever have a reaction to those things? Did you ever eat an avocado and have a reaction to it? Well, no. Then you're not allergic to it, right? An allergy is my throat closed, my tongue swelled, my lips are swollen, I got a canker sore. What was the reaction? Otherwise, it's called a food sensitivity. And when we have food sensitivities, it tells us that something is going on in our gut. Our gut isn't sealed off properly. Have you ever heard the terminology leaky gut? I remember when someone first told me leaky gut, I thought of like Pringles. Anybody ever tell you that Pringles cause anal leakage? That's what I thought. I was like, leaky gut? What are you trying? Like, I don't have leaky gut. We all have leaky gut. So leaky gut tells us that there our gut lining, the lining of our gut, which is supposed to be nice and tight, is actually quite permeable, meaning things can get in and out. The weaker our digestive system, the more permeable our gut lining is, meaning things can get out. So if you eat something like sushi, anybody eat sushi? Okay, sushi we know has parasites, right? We know that it has parasites. Our body, it's raw fish. It's got bacteria, it's got parasites. Meat has parasites. We cook it and it kills the parasites. Our body, when it is strong enough, it kills the parasites in your stomach acid, they die, and they get digested just like any other protein would. Now, if your gut isn't strong, which most of ours isn't, that parasite can get into your large and small intestine, and it can live there, and it can thrive in that environment. Unfortunately, if we have those types of things going on in our gut, and we have gut permeability, those parasites are free to get to the rest of our body too. Okay? This can cause all kinds of problems. So when we take these offending foods out, and when we do all these good things for our body by doing a Whole30 or by doing any kind of elimination diet, we're allowing the gut lining to heal and seal back up so that nothing gets out. And then magically you go back to the doctor's office and they say, oh, you're not allergic to anything. Like, I wonder how that happened. There's nothing in my blood anymore. You weirdo, why didn't you ask the first time? You know, I get so frustrated. People come into me like, my blood work. And I'm like, I hate blood work. Not all blood work. Okay, so Whole30, elimination diet, cutting out the foods so that we can heal and seal the gut back up, give the body a chance to heal. It's like we're throwing your body a life raft. You've been drowning in the ocean for the last 40 years. Now I'm going to throw you a life raft and you can just relax a minute. Let your body heal again. That's what we're working on. So during the Whole30, we're going to do a couple of things. It's going to change your relationship with food. It's going to change the way you think about food. Like I said in the beginning of this class, I don't want you to think about, I live to eat, right? People say it all the time, I'm a foodie. I'm a foodie, like I love food too, but I eat to live. I eat because I want to be stronger. I want to live for a long time and never have to worry about my kids taking care of me. This is where we're at right now with my mom. My mom is, needs to be taken care of. I don't ever want to be like that. I want to be the one who's strong and vital and full of energy. And someone asks like, oh, does your mom take any medications? What's that cabinet above your mirror called? Yeah, but it wasn't actually called a medicine cabinet, right? It's called a mirrored closet or mirrored cabinet. But it's so full of drugs that's what we call it. We call it the medicine cabinet. It's not actually supposed to be a medicine cabinet. Because what did medicine used to be? Back in the day, you would go to like the medicine man and they'd give you a root or a plant or leaves that you made into tea. And somehow we took that and we took these little bits of things that were really good for us, right? Ginger is good for digestion, peppermint is good for pain, and we took that and we extracted those active ingredients and we decided to create them ourselves in a lab and market them and sell them in that way. But we didn't ever take into account the fact that those drugs are going to cause other problems. Those drugs aren't getting to the bottom of anything. Those drugs are only alleviating your symptoms and not allowing you to fix what the actual problem is. Our body is incredibly intelligent. It will tell you when something is wrong. And we don't listen. We don't pay attention. We're working, we're busy. I got a little headache, I got a pill for that. We're working, we're busy. I got a little stomach, I got an upset stomach, indigestion. I can't eat spicy foods anymore. I got a pill for that. Your body, every time this happens, is trying to tell you something. It's trying to say, hey, help me. I'm drowning in the ocean and I don't have any support and you're not helping me. Throw me a life raft. But instead we silence it, we silence it, we silence it. We keep taking the medication, we keep taking the drugs, and we keep saying, no, I don't care what you have to say, squish that down, I have a deadline. I have a meeting to get to. Right? We gotta help ourselves. So when we do a Whole30, that's what we're doing. We're taking a step forward and we're saying, hey, for the first time in a very long time, I'm gonna put my body first. You work so hard for me, body, thank you so much. Let me feed you the things that you actually need. Okay? So Whole30, we're going to learn a whole new relationship with food. We're going to heal those health issues, even the ones you didn't know you had. Food allergies, food sensitivities, digestive issues. We're going to have new health and life habits because the way you're going to be eating changes as well as what you eat. So we're not going to be grazing and snacking all day long on whatever. We're not going to be doing drive-thrus. We're going to be preparing and really thinking consciously about the food that goes into our body and how much it's there to help and heal and nourish and strengthen instead of taking away from ourselves. We wonder why we get so tired in the middle of the day. We're tired because our body's been fighting all day to keep us upright because we haven't done anything to support it. So we got to change that. So we change that in this 30 days. It's so much more than a diet. It's so much more than what's in your pantry and what's in your fridge. It's what's in your brain. And we got to change that, which is totally possible. So we're going to get a whole new outlook on food. It's going to come with a little bit of fear and confusion, but it's also going to come with relief and relief of symptoms. We're going to have a little bit of detox, which isn't comfortable. But once you go through it one time, you know that you're never going to go back through it again. Maybe you get a headache, maybe you get nauseous, maybe you get a little fevery, your body's trying to get rid of all the crap. It's like, hey, I got some free room, I'm going to wiggle in here. Get out of here, you know, karate chop those toxins out. All right, so Whole30 has a very specific what is and what isn't allowed. So I'm going to give you a list of what is not allowed on the Whole30. And then I'm going to go back through and tell you why it isn't allowed. And then we're going to talk about what is. What are you going to eat? What's going to be on my plate? So first I'm going to tell you what isn't, then why, and then what is. Hey Carrie, I see you on there. Okay, so we're cutting things out. So the number one thing we're going to cut out is sugar. And that includes all forms of sugar. So maple syrup, coconut palm sugar, honey. These are good sweeteners. They're not allowed on the Whole30. Remember those three things that I said we're going to do. We're going to change our taste buds in 2 weeks. We're going to kill those sugar cravings by day 21. And we're going to create new habits by day 30. Okay? So changing our taste buds, we're going to incorporate a bunch of great new things. You're going to love it. If you don't love it now, you're going to love it in 2 weeks. We're going to kill that sugar craving by cutting out all the sugar. You can have fruit, just not like a crazy amount of it. You're not going to live on fruit. You can have a couple servings of fruit a day. No fruit juice though. So no sugar, no artificial sweeteners either. So no aspartame, no xylitol, no stevia, no Splenda, no artificial sweeteners, nothing added that is sweet. The only thing that's allowed that you can add to sweeten things up is dates. Okay, dates are crazy sweet. There's 40 grams of sugar per date. So if you really need something, eat a date or add a date. Okay, alcohol. Alcohol's coming out. All grains, rice, quinoa, which isn't actually a grain, it's a seed, but it's still out. Obviously no wheat. No legumes, including peanuts. Peanuts are a legume, they're not a nut. Beans, in the legume family, no beans, and no lentils. No soy of any kind. That includes edamame, tofu, tempeh, all soy. No soy sauce. Milk, cheese, yogurt, any dairy product. All dairy for 30 days. I know, I can see you guys thinking like, what is left? What am I eating? What's left on my plate? We're gonna get there, I swear. I swear. I do this in this order for a reason. Okay, I promise. So don't get scared on me, don't lose me. All the seed, we're gonna avoid seed oils. Specifically, no peanut, soybean, corn, canola, safflower, sunflower, sesame, and flax. And again, I'm going to go back through and tell you why in a minute. I forgot to mention in the grains category that corn is a grain, not a vegetable. Corn is out on the Whole30 as well. Is that surprising? Yeah. Corn is a grain. I love when I'm going to like barbecue at someone's house or something and they're like, oh, we got tons of vegetables. We got like corn and green beans. And I'm like, none of those are vegetables. That is a legume and a grain, right? Where's your vegetables? Okay, So let's go through and talk about each one. And again, if you have any questions, stop me, ask me, whatever. Sugar and alcohol are out for very similar reasons, okay? So one of the reasons for sugar is that we want to cut that sugar addiction. Sugar is one of the most difficult things to cut out of our diet. It's very highly addictive, and you don't even realize how much control sugar can have over you. Scientists have said that detoxing and cutting sugar out of your diet can be as hard as cutting heroin. When we think of it like that, it's like, oh my gosh, right? It's a very difficult thing to do. And we get that, like, I need something sweet right now. Do you? Or does your brain saying, like, give it to me? Right? Okay. So sugar, the main reason we're cutting it out is for the sugar addiction. The number one reason. Because if we can break that addiction, we can fix all these other problems too. So sugar comes out for the same reason that alcohol does. Alcohol makes it very difficult for your body to regulate blood sugar. Okay? So everything we eat, quick little science lesson here, biology rather, everything that we eat turns into sugar in our body. You heard glucose, the word glucose? Glucose is what our body uses for energy. So everything that we eat, everything, except for the exception is fat, some fats, specifically MCTs or medium chain triglycerides. We see MCT oil. That's one of the only ones that doesn't necessarily turn into sugar or turn into glucose in our body. It actually is used by our brain really quickly. So everything that we eat turns into sugar. Potatoes, popcorn, whatever it is, it's going to turn into sugar. Glucose. It's a usable form of sugar in our body. Our body then stores the glucose. Your liver will store it in your liver will store the glucose as glycogen and use it later. But if we have too much sugar, or if sugar hits our bloodstream too quickly, then we have ups and downs. We have these big ups and downs, these big like sugar highs. People say like, oh, you just ate so much sugar, you're gonna crash. Right, we've heard that. Crash is when you go way low and you're like, oh, shaky, I'm sugar high or sugar low. So everything that we eat turns into sugar. Now, when you eat plain sugar or alcohol, it doesn't need to be broken down by the body at all. It hits the bloodstream immediately. Any other form of sugar in our body, so potatoes, an apple, a pear, something like that, it takes our body time to break it down. There's multiple chains. If you look at like a chemistry book or something and you see like all those chemical compounds, those structures. So sugar is one compound. It's called a mono chain, one chain. It doesn't need to be broken down. Your body can use it immediately. When we eat things that have multiple chains, they're called complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates take longer in our body to break down because there are more chains. Our body has to cut those chains up into mono chains in order to become glucose and to be used by the body. So when we eat things like a cupcake or a cookie or something that has a really high sugar content and the body doesn't have to break it down, it hits the bloodstream immediately. Now, when we don't have a slow release, what happens is our body gets shocked. There's all this sugar in the body. There's all this glucose, and it doesn't necessarily need to be used. Now, in order for our body to use glucose right away, we need insulin. We've all heard of insulin, right? The pancreas produces insulin. Insulin is like this little bus driver, and I like to think of like that big old yellow school bus, and here comes my bus driver, and it's coming by, and it says, hey, sugar, come on in. It dumps all the sugar in the insulin, attaches to it. And the insulin takes the sugar to the cells in order for your body to use it. It's that little vehicle to get the sugar where it needs to go. Now what happens, we've got sugar bound with insulin. Now, when are we eating treats the most? At night, right? At night, we're like done with the day, we're watching a movie, something good on TV, and we get that sweet tooth. Now, after you eat that sugar, are you going out and walking? Are you going to go run a mile? Are you going to do anything active to burn that sugar? No. So your body doesn't need it. So if your body isn't actively using it or needing it right then, that bound sugar with insulin becomes toxic. and it sits in your body and it doesn't have anywhere to go. So instead of detoxing it naturally, some of it will get peed out, some of it will go out with our morning pee, it'll just detox naturally, but most of it gets stored in our fat cells. Okay, because it's toxic and our body doesn't know what to do with toxins. So instead of getting them out, because it doesn't have a natural pathway, we don't know how to deal with toxins. Our body hasn't evolved enough. It's only maybe been 75 to 100 years at most that we've been doing this to our body. It takes millions of years for your body to change, for any body to change. So we haven't adapted to understanding toxins. So in order to protect yourself, your body stores it as fat. Okay? And if it doesn't have any more fat cells, or those fat cells are all filled up, it'll create more fat cells. Fat doesn't make you fat. Fat gets used by your brain. Your brain is 20% fat. Fat is used by your brain. Fat regulates hormones. Sugar makes you fat. Sugar gets stored in your fat cells. If you don't have any more fat cells, it will make more. And we never get rid of our fat cells. You can empty them out, they'll flatten, but once you have them, they're there forever. Now before I started this journey, I was 70 pounds heavier. That was all fat. It's gone. It's not like I look like I have a bunch of fat cells hanging around. You won't look that way, but they're there. And they will be used by the body in order to protect itself if need be. Okay, so sugar comes out because we don't want that increase of insulin. We don't want our body dumping insulin when there's nothing for it to be used by, right? Unless we're gonna go out and use it. You're gonna go to the gym, eat something that has a little bit of sugar in it. Have the dates, have the RX bar, have the Thunderbird bar that has 9 grams of sugar in it, and be okay with it because you know you're gonna burn that energy right away. But otherwise, it doesn't belong in your system. It hits too fast. So instead, we need to balance it out. So during our Whole30, we cut these things out so that we can balance that blood sugar. Alcohol does the same thing to our body. It hits the bloodstream, turns into sugar immediately, doesn't need to be broken down at all, and stores in the fat cells with the insulin. Alcohol does one more step for us. Besides that, I can finally relax for the day. It also increases inflammation in the gut. Now, I mentioned earlier tonight that we have that leaky gut, right? So how did it get that way? How did it get to be permeable? How did it get those spaces there? Gut inflammation. Now, some of us had gut inflammation anyways. I had one of the autoimmune diseases that I was diagnosed with was the celiac disease. There's a huge amount of inflammation going on in your gut when you have celiac disease. Crohn's disease is the same way. So when we drink alcohol, we're increasing the inflammation in our gut. When the inflammation is increased in our gut, it increases permeability, which allows things like the pathogens from the sushi to get out of the gut and into the body. Okay. Questions about alcohol or sugar before we move on to grains? You guys good? Am I scaring you?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, here's the problem. Once you learn this information, you can't unlearn it. Okay? So if at any point you're like, I can't hear anymore, you gotta go. Because you can't unlearn it. You can't unlearn it. I'm telling you right now, there are some things that I wish that I was more naive about.
It's a good scary.
It's a good scary? Okay, I promise I'm gonna give you the tools. I'm not just gonna scare you and then tell you, go figure it out. Right? All right. I do feel like that's a lot of what's going on these days, is a lot of fear mongering, a lot of this is what's wrong, but no, this is how we fix it, with a really set plan. And that's one thing that I really love about the Whole30 is yes, there's a lot of really bad things that we've been doing, but there's also a lot of good things that we can do, and it's never too late. It's never too late. As long as you got another 7 years left to live, you got a whole new skeletal system. And that's the longest that your body takes. 2 years for a liver. Your heart is something like 4 to 5 years. A brand new heart. I was helping a client tonight. She came into me crying. I love this woman so much. So much. She has a blockage in her heart. She says, what do I do? And she said, I don't even want to do this anymore. What's the point? What's the point? I'm going to have this surgery. They're going to put a stent in my heart. What's the point?
She doesn't want to do what anymore, Sharissa?
Live.
Oh, she doesn't want to live anymore.
She doesn't want to be here anymore.
Oh.
She's done, right? She's over it. I don't want to do this anymore if this is what's going to happen. And here's what we have to think, right? She's like, what do I do if this is going to be my life? And I think that that's what's wrong. That's the wrong mentality, because this doesn't have to be your life. It's the fact of making that choice right now, today, before you even leave the room. I am not going to do anything bad for myself anymore. I can start now and make these good things happen. And I can have a brand new body. So that's the point. That's what we're doing it for. Right? Grains. Grains contain inflammatory proteins like gluten. They're also fermentable carbohydrates. So we know about fermented foods, right? Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, tempeh is a fermented food. Soy, or natural, like real soy sauce is a fermented food, not the stuff you can buy here, not like kikkoman. But like real soy is a fermented food. Also alcohol, right? Alcohol is a fermented grain. Now here's the thing that we got to look at. Grains ferment very nicely into making that beautiful beer, right? Like the IPA, you got your stouts, whatever. That's a fermented grain. Now the problem is our body doesn't necessarily recognize those foods, and so it can ferment in your gut. So now we're eating the fermentable foods before they're fermented, and we eat them, digest them, and they're fermenting in here. What happens when they ferment in your gut is an increase of things like yeast or candida, increase of the wrong kinds of bacteria, and if by some chance one of those pathogens, one of those parasites from the sushi, from the meat that was undercooked, whatever, got in there, it feeds those too. It also increases inflammation, which increases that gut permeability. So unless grains are prepared properly, which most of them aren't, unless you're doing it at home and you know exactly what's going into the process, then we're dealing with that fermented grains in your gut, okay? So that inflammation can cross the gut lining, it can access any part of your body, it has access to your bloodstream, and it can be the cause of things like asthma and allergies. When we get inflammation in our chest, when we get that like lung inflammation. My husband was diagnosed with asthma as a really young kid. I think he was like 6 or 7. And then we changed his diet, and now he never uses his inhaler. He's like, well, why don't I have to use my inhaler anymore? It's like, well, because you don't eat any of these inflammatory foods. You don't have any lung inflammation anymore. Therefore, there's no need for a rescue inhaler. Okay, so we can reverse all of this. It isn't like, oh, but she's not going to help me with my headaches, or like, oh, but there's no possible way she's going to help me with this. No. When we change our diet, we change our body, we change everything. Everything. There's no shortage of what we can do here. I mean, I've never grown a limb back, but like everything else. I mean, I'm just trying to think like maybe there is a shortage somewhere. Okay. So again, it can cross the blood-brain barrier. It can cause asthma, allergies, skin conditions, eczema, psoriasis, things like that, rashes, acne, fertility issues. So can't get pregnant, can't stay pregnant, those types of problems that is highly regulated by your food, not enough fat consumption, hormones need to be regulated, things like that. All of that can be changed by our food. And migraines and joint pain. So joint inflammation like arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, just tennis elbow, any kind of joint inflammation. You get up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm a little stiff until my body warms up. That's not natural. That's not natural or normal. And I think that we should make the distinction here at this point to say that just because something happens often to a lot of people doesn't make it normal, it makes it common. And then we have to ask ourselves, what's the common denominator in all these common horrible symptoms? Well, that's a lot of crappy food, right? A lot of crappy food, a lot of crappy stress, a lot of crappy not getting enough sleep. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, the most important thing about cutting out the grains is because they have phytates and phytic acid, which are anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients block the absorption of minerals. So if you're eating, say for instance you eat like a loaf of bread that's fortified and it's like got iron and magnesium, and you see that nutritional facts label and it says all the things that it has in it, The grains, the phytonutrients in the grains, the phytates in the grains are blocking the absorption of those minerals. It actually will strip you of those minerals. If you take things like magnesium, manganese, silica, those types of really great, like you're taking those minerals, but you're also eating those grains, your body's blocking the absorption. You just spent $30 on a bottle of pee.
So is any bread good?
There are good bread companies, but not what you're traditionally buying in the grocery store. It's got to have they've got to do it the right way. I think P&O's the company that's doing it right in Carlsbad, right? Yeah. Yeah, let me show you guys. So if you're on the Whole30, you can't do any bread, but this is the bread that I eat. It's we keep it frozen because it doesn't have any preservatives in it. You can keep it in the fridge for about a week. It doesn't even last that long in my house. We eat this bread. So the ingredients in this are eggs, cassava flour. Cassava, if you're not familiar with, is a root, it's the yucca root. Honey, potato starch, olive oil, psyllium husk, which is a really great fiber. Apple cider vinegar, potato flour, sea salt, and baking soda. So really, really good, high quality ingredients and actually taste like bread. So much so that they named the company Legit Bread, because it legitimately tastes like bread. Cool. So yeah, I mean, this is the bread that I eat, and that's because I really don't eat a lot of bread anyways, because I don't see that much of a need for it. I think once you cut it out of your diet, and especially for these 30 days, you'll see that there are other ways that you can do things and that you don't necessarily need a lot of it. But a good alternative, nonetheless. So there's nothing useful in grains really if they're blocking your absorption and they're not really giving you anything anyways, but a bunch of inflammation. So we can get all of the things that we need from fruits and vegetables. People ask me all the time, where am I going to get my fiber from? Well, you actually get more fiber from vegetables than you do from grains, and the grains are blocking the absorption, so you're getting less, so the equation ends up being a negative. So you gotta weigh out the differences for yourself. The next one is legumes, which includes soy and peanuts, beans obviously. So beans were cut out for the same reason as grains, unless they're properly prepared. So all the same reason as grains, everything that I just told you about grains, but beans are okay if they're properly prepared. Not on the Whole30, but when you're done with the Whole30, if you sprout them, soak them, cook them, not buying like a can of beans, very different. And your body is much more capable of absorbing and digesting that properly. People tell me, like, I get people who tell me all the time, black beans are a perfect protein. You hear that? Black beans are like, all I need if I'm stranded on a desert island is black beans. Well, it's just not true, because your body doesn't absorb it properly. So if your body doesn't extract all of the amino acids out of the beans, it's not a perfect protein. Okay? Soy is also not a perfect protein. It's missing 2 of the 8 essential amino acids. So it's also not a complete protein. Soy is a phytoestrogen. Phytoestrogens tell your body to make more estrogen. So it's not like naturally increasing estrogen and saying, hey body, we need more estrogen. Do you know of anybody who needs more estrogen in their life? Anybody. Naturally, most of us are estrogen dominant. Just breathing the air that we breathe, eating the foods that we eat, the stress that we take on, having high levels of cortisol means that you have high levels of estrogen. Any of us that hold on to stress or have a stressful job have higher levels of cortisol, you will have higher levels of estrogen. We do not need the body to make more estrogen. We need the body to understand and regulate itself so that it makes just as much as it needs without any more. Make sense? Cool. So soy is a phytoestrogen, that's why it's coming out. Peanuts are out because of the lectins. They are resistant to digestion. They can cross into the bloodstream, and they can promote inflammation. And then dairy, all dairy, yogurt, cheese, everything, milk, all dairy. We are the only mammal that has continued to eat dairy after being weaned. We're also the only mammal that seeks out milk from other mammals. The only one. You don't see a cow going up to another, to a dog and like nursing, right? We're the only mammal that does that. And we're the only ones that do it after being weaned. So like that 2-year mark or whatever it is you decide to go to, that's it, that's enough. Because breast milk from any mammalian species is meant to fatten up whatever it's feeding, right? Fatten it up, make it stronger, make it so that it can continue to grow. We've already done that process. We did that in the very beginning. Now we need really good high quality fats to keep our brain moving properly, but we don't need another animal's milk in order to do that. Okay, so now the next argument is, Sharissa, where am I going to get my calcium from? My bones are weak, right? Where's the highest rate of osteoporosis in the United States? Any guesses? Wisconsin. Wisconsin has the highest rate of osteoporosis in the United States. They also have the highest rate of sales and dairy products in the United States. Dairy capital of the world, osteoporosis capital of the United States. So how does that compute? If you're telling me I gotta drink 2 glasses of milk a day so that my bones don't get weak, but I'm drinking all this milk and I have osteoporosis. Why? Why? The reason why, I'm gonna tell you, not just leave you on a cliffhanger. The reason why is a couple of things. First of all, that calcium is not always bioavailable to us, meaning that we can't absorb it properly. Also, it has been devoid, it's been stripped of a lot of its minerals and nutrients by that cooking process, pasteurized and homogenized milk. They take out a lot of the things that we need in order to digest the milk. Specifically, during that process, an enzyme called lactase is burned off, it's killed off. Okay, it's an enzyme. Lactase is the enzyme that eats lactose. It's part of their symbiotic process. Most of us, if not all of us, are lactose intolerant because we are not meant to digest that enzyme. We are meant to drink and consume a product that has the enzyme being eaten by lactase. You ever go and buy those Lactaid pills? Like I'm lactose intolerant, I'm gonna take this pill. The only ingredient in that pill is lactase. They stripped it from the milk that they sold you, and then they sold you the pill to make it so that you could drink the milk. There's something wrong with this system. There's something wrong with this system. Okay? You can't digest it. And if we can't digest it, we're not getting the calcium. And if we're not getting the calcium, but we're drinking something that our body's expecting the calcium from, it steals it from your body in order to get digested. If you're eating something that's devoid of the thing your body's expecting from it, you're drinking milk and it's expecting calcium, and it doesn't have in there the calcium, it will take it from your bones, your teeth, and your eyes. Say what, one more time?
Yeah.
Just say the whole thing?
Yeah.
The whole thing. So like with the full dramatic effect. If you're drinking or eating something that's devoid of the minerals or the nutrients that your body's expecting from it. So for instance, if we eat like an apple, that we're expecting to have 27, 28 different minerals or vitamins in it. Right now, there aren't very many minerals or vitamins in the food that we're eating. Unless you're getting really clean organic food and the soil's been, tilled and they've got good stuff in the soil, it's not going to have what it's supposed to have in it. But your body will recognize that food and it'll say, hey, I'm eating this apple. And I expect from this apple that I'm going to get whatever it is. Let's say vitamin C. But it doesn't have any in it. In order for that piece of fruit or that piece of food to be digested, it will steal from your body the nutrients that it needs in order to be digested. So instead of gaining anything, you've now lost. It's the same thing with water. Water's a big deal. If you're drinking filtered water that doesn't have anything in it, it will rob the minerals from your body. And instead of hydrating you, it will dehydrate you. You ever drink like a crazy amount of water and think, why am I so thirsty? Because it doesn't have any minerals in it. It will take from you what it needs in order to get out of your body. That calcium from the milk that isn't digestible is stealing the calcium from your bones in order to get digested.
What about almond milk?
Almond milk is great. Almond milk naturally has calcium in it. And it's a nut that is digestible by the body. So when they come out and they say like almond milk has more calcium than milk, and then the milk companies come out and they're like, no it doesn't, we have more. And it's like, actually, ours, almond milk is more bioavailable. So you can get more out of it. It doesn't take as much from you. My girlfriend just wrote on there, quit stealing my calcium. Then don't drink the milk, Lacey. Love you. Okay. I feel like I've made so many good points. So many good points. All right, seed oils. I gave you that long list of seed oils that we're taking out. Omega-6, there's our omegas, right? 3, 6, and 9 omegas. We need to have the omegas. We need to have them regularly, so we take like fish oil, eat fish, eat things that have high omegas. Coconut oil, like olive oil has good omegas. When we eat the seed oils are really high in omega-6 only. And when you have them out of balance, they're very inflammatory. So too much omega-6 without the omega-3 combined creates hyaluronic acid in your body. Hyaluronic acid is highly inflammatory, meaning just eating things like a piece of meat cooked in canola oil can create a ton of inflammation and have it just be that oil. So that's why the oils are out. Yeah, and they're typically cooked in peanut oil. And you can ask, peanut and soybeans, sometimes they do a blend. Anytime you see like a restaurant and you can see through the glass and they're using a squeeze bottle of oil, it's a blend typically of canola and soybean or canola and olive. It's cheaper. I can't remember when exactly, but I always say it's about like 6 years ago. There was a big scandal on olive oil. The bigger companies of olive oil, they were mixing in canola oil to make it cheaper for them to manufacture it. They didn't actually say that they did it though. They were doing tests on the olive oil and said like, this isn't actually pure olive oil. So check your labels, make sure you're with a trusted company, that kind of thing. Just a quick thing about the water, just so that I give you a tip on that. If you are going to be drinking water that doesn't have any minerals in it, so it's like filtered water. In my house, we drink sparklets because that's what my family likes to drink. We just have the sparklets delivered. It has no minerals in it. It's completely devoid of anything. So I buy the complete minerals from Pia and I add that to my water every day so that I'm adding the minerals back in. You could also do it with Icelandic flake salt, which has 83. Yeah. I also add a little bit of sea salt to my water if I don't have the complete minerals. And then if you want water that has minerals in it, we're lucky enough here in Southern California that we have Mount Palomar water, and they don't take the minerals out. So it's just fresh, clean water, and it does have the minerals in it. So then we're not losing that. Quarter teaspoon. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, that took me like so long to register. Yeah.
I have an ionizer. It's a drop-on water machine.
Kangen water.
Anyway, it's that.
Find out if it's filtering their water. The only thing we want taken out of our water is like fluoride, chlorine, and any bacteria. But if it's taking the minerals out of the water, which most of them do, like reverse osmosis takes the minerals out, most home water filtration systems take the minerals out. So we got to add it back in. It's not bad. Just add more. Just add the minerals so that you're not dehydrating yourself. What do you want me to talk about with this, Pia?
Just
Add it for the minerals.
that-
Oh, yeah.
That has over 70 essential minerals your body's need, but
Okay.
just
So you could do the same thing.
warning label.
Yeah. Tastes horrible.
And it smells like
And it smells like yeah. So this is Himalayan shilajit. This is a this shilajit to quit. Anyways, so it also has minerals in it. So there's plenty of ways that we can add the minerals back in. You can do a really good high quality salt, not like table salt, not Morton's, nothing like that. It's got to be like Celtic sea salt, Himalayan salt. Icelandic is the best one because it has the highest mineral count in it. Quarter teaspoon once a day. Or add the minerals.
Like a gallon of water, is that what you're saying?
No, just do it one time in your water bottle. And then drink that for the day. As long as you've got the minerals in your body, it's not going to like flush out right away. They're going to sit in your body for about a day.
So with that, you'll be drinking less water.
You won't need as much water, right? So you'll be more hydrated. So the rule is half your body weight in ounces of water per day.
I go through about a gallon of water.
Okay, so you could be dehydrating yourself just by drinking too much water. But make sure you add the minerals to it, and then we'll see what happens. So half your body weight in ounces, add the minerals every day, and just see what happens, because you'll probably start to feel way more hydrated. Like, wow, I drank this full bottle of water and I feel good. I don't need any more. Often when we get headaches, it's because we're dehydrated. And when that happens, I tell people to do like a little bit of lemon, a little bit of salt, and their water. Help to detoxify, add the minerals back in. It helps to alkaline and it's actually, lemon is actually both. Lemon starts out in your body as acidic, so you can drink it with your meals because it's an acid, so it's not going to dilute your stomach acid at all. But it will end up in your body alkaline, so that it can help with that detox. So if you've got a headache, you're feeling like, oh, a little bit of lemon, but half a lemon, quarter teaspoon of salt in your water.
So what's your opinion on if you're drinking the water that has minerals,
Yep.
and you're not drinking your ounces, the number of ounces you have your body weight, but you feel hydrated. So let's say you're like, oh, you know what, I drink like 60 ounces of water a day, and I feel good, I'm hydrated. What's your opinion on that?
Water and that process is one of our body's best ways of detoxing. Also, if you don't have enough water in your body, it can create bowel problems. So we need enough water to help that process through. So I wouldn't recommend 16 ounces a day to anybody, especially if you drink tea or coffee or really any of those things that are diuretics that will flush water out of your body. I'd recommend sticking to the daily amount of water, but if you're feeling okay every couple of days, that's okay. Just try to meet your water minimum. It's really gonna help with detox.
Minerals.
No.
All this other stuff that you
Correct. You might feel hydrated, and a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, I hate drinking water. I don't want to drink any water. I feel fine drinking, whatever, coffee, tea. The problem isn't necessarily how you're feeling right now. Again, we're doing the things that we're going to take a step forward, right? So we want to make sure that we're protecting our body, and one of the ways that our body does that is through detoxification. And one of the detoxification processes is urination and bowel movements, and we can't do either of those things if we're not hydrated enough. So we got to keep the water in. If you're losing water, sweating, exercising really heavily, replenishing the water. I mean, it's all about the life raft. Think about, it's not, what your ideals are, what you want to do. It's the fact that your body's been working really hard for you, and you need to support it. So by drinking the water, we're supporting your body's natural processes, and it's more than just feeling hydrated. Good questions. Okay, so now I've told you everything that isn't on your plate. Now I want to tell you what you are going to eat. Okay? You can have meat, any kind of meat. Seafood, beef, lamb, eggs, poultry, bacon. You can have any fruit and any vegetables. And again, remember that corn is not a vegetable. I say it like 3 or 4 times, and I'll still get a message halfway through like, can I have corn? No. Your fats, so we got vegetables, fruit, protein that's coming from an animal source, seafood, beef, lamb, eggs, poultry, pork, bacon. Fats, we're going to increase fat consumption during the Whole30. We're going to do 4 to 6 tablespoons of fat per day. And this is a stretch for most people, especially people who think fat is bad. Remember, fat doesn't make you fat, sugar makes you fat. So our fats, we're gonna have cooking fats are any animal fats, so bacon grease, ghee, which is clarified butter, coconut oil, and olive oil. Our eating fats, fats that you can just eat now, are avocado, coconut butter, all nuts. You're allowed to have all nuts and seeds. And remember, peanuts are not a nut, they're a legume. You can also have nut butters, almond butter, cashew butter, what else? Pumpkin seed butter, yeah. Yeah, okay. And then again, nuts and seeds, you can have any nuts and seeds. I like to make myself like little trail mixes when I'm doing the Whole30 to have something to like snack on in my car. And also Pia has some really wonderful granolas and things. You can have any herbs and spices, but I caution you to check the labels because often in some of the bigger brands we have maltodextrin, which is a powdered corn, and they do that to keep the spices from clumping, and sugar to keep you coming back for more. Beverages, you can have coffee, coconut water, but in moderation and not as a substitute for water. Coconut water is really good. It's high in electrolytes. It's going to be mineral rich. It's going to help to replenish, but it is high in sugar naturally because it's coconut. So in moderation. Okay, so that's like a good, I'm eating lunch, I don't want to have water, I want to have something else. Coconut water, tea, coffee. You can also have kombucha. You can also have sparkling water or mineral water. Obviously you can have regular water, you can have tea, any variety of tea. Yes?
Is that okay if you start candida cleanse, or is that
It's, the jury is out on a candida cleanse with kombucha, so it's 50-50. Some people say like absolutely it helps to build flora in the gut. Some people say absolutely not, it can feed the wrong bacteria. I tend to tell people to do a kill phase and then do kombucha during the feeding cycles.
okay?
So kill first with things like garlic, Spanish black radish, boron is a really good one, a good mineral for killing bacteria, fresh garlic cloves are really good, and then add in the probiotic foods and probiotics during the feeding time. Yeah, but on the Whole30 you can have kombucha, which is a fermented green tea, by the way, just in case you were wondering what that is. And then you can have vegetable juice, but no fruit juice or fruit smoothies. And again, because we're trying to lower that sugar intake for the day. So if you're gonna eat fruit or you want fruit, then eat it. So you're getting the fiber, you're chewing, you're doing this whole motion that's stimulating digestion, and you're getting a lot of good stuff in, but you're not just sucking down a bunch of smoothies, yeah. Cold pressed juices are fine. Except for the ones that have maple syrup. Yeah, so vegetable juices are fine. Any questions about what you can eat?
That's it. That's a very short list compared to
Fruit? Well, I didn't go into like what kinds of fruit. Like we can make it a long list. Okay, you can have artichokes, asparagus. Like you want me to alphabetical?
Now, what about,
Yeah.
okay, you said meats, any kind of meats. What about that's one of the reasons why I stopped eating meat, because they industrialize meats.
We don't eat industrialized meat here. We eat pasture-raised meat.
Pasture-raised meats.
And the best place to get your pasture-raised meat is Primal Pastures. So you can order from them online. You can get it right here in the store. They're very high quality. You can go visit the farm. They have farm days and you can see the chickens live outside. The cows are eating grass and drinking from fresh streams. They live longer because they're not being fattened in a horrible little tiny room with 4 feet of feces under them. Like they live a good life. And there's no hormones, there's no antibiotics, there's no nasty, disgusting stuff. They live outside in the sunshine eating what they're supposed to eat. And because the way they do their farm, there's a symbiotic relationship. The cows eat the grass and they poop, and the chickens come and they eat the parasites out of the cow pies, and they poop on the grass, and that fertilizes and retills the grass. 6 weeks later, the cows come back and graze on that grass. There's a whole relationship involved. If you want to know more about that, you can read the most awesome book. It's called The Omnivore's Dilemma, written by Michael Pollan, and he goes into detail, very detailed about each component of industrialized farming and what real farms should look like, what they used to look like. And the more we support these type of farmers, the more of them we're going to see. Because we're going to force industrialized farmers out of business, right? I mean, that's the plan. That's the process. It makes me just so sick to see what's happening in our world. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. And we're eating those disgusting and disturbing animals, right? Because they're super stressed, under a lot of pressure, eating the wrong diet. The same thing that I said about humans and human evolution, we have not evolved to eat some grains, things that are fermented in our gut. We're not there yet. Those animals have specifically developed 2 stomachs to turn grass into protein. The bacteria that lives in a cow rumen, the second stomach, digests the grass and turns into the amino acids that cow needs in order to have protein in their diet. They did not develop to eat corn and soy and have a bunch of antibiotics. The reason that they have to have the antibiotics, the reason that they get is so sick and so infected, is not just because they're living in their own feces. It's because they're eating the wrong diet and their body doesn't adjust well, so it gets really weak like our bodies do, right? And then we start attacking ourselves like an autoimmune disease. They're doing the same thing and they're getting sick, and then they need the antibiotics. They don't inject cows with antibiotics anymore. They put it in the food. It's always there. What is something like 75% of our country's antibiotics are in the food? Yeah, 80%. And it's not, and I mean, our last event that we did, our I Am a Clean Eater event, we had Farmer Paul, the person who has Primal Pastures, and he talked about what it means to be antibiotic free. Just means that they had to stop the antibiotics 3 days before the cow was brought to slaughter. It doesn't mean that they didn't have antibiotics their entire life. It's in the trough. So I'm right there with you. I have the same moral obligation. So I eat the animals because I can't see my life going in any other direction. I need animal protein in order to be capable, and I've tried not having it. It doesn't work for me. I get really depleted and I get really sick really fast. That's not a diet for me. So I do with the best that I possibly can and support the farming industry that I know is doing the right thing.
Just as a caveat though, Whole30 does not make a specification to do pasture raised meat. That's us in the store to make that decision to do pasture raised.
Yes, any kind of vegetable
Just like
juice.
the nuts and stuff in the store we promote, that's what's sprouted. Whole30 doesn't make that specification.
Right. The Whole30 is the start of your journey. So if you're starting with cutting out some of these bad foods and you want to make the concession for like organic food, for instance, there is that is a step up from conventional, not that high of a step, but it's a step. And then when you're ready to make that leap to pasture raised, you're going to get a much higher quality and you need less of it. So again, the other thing that P and I have talked about several times is that we don't have to eat very much. My evening plate of meat, like last night I had, we had beef and broccoli for dinner. We made like a stir fry with beef, broccoli, and cabbage and onions and all this really wonderful stuff. I had 1 piece of steak like this big and it fed 5 people. Because we just cut it up and put it in the beef and broccoli, and that wasn't the main component of the meal. The main component of the meal is the vegetables and the rest of the rest of it. But I need to have a little bit of animal protein for myself. That's just me, not you. You can do whatever is comfortable for you. But I need that. So for breakfast, I had 2 scrambled eggs. For lunch, I had, what did I have for lunch? Cake? That was yesterday. Yesterday for lunch, I came in here and I had one of these cakes. That's what I ate. I was like, I don't have an appetite. I'm going to eat a cake. Raw vegan. It's like nuts and fruit and like all sprouted, and the only sweetener is a little bit of maple syrup and some dates in the crust. Like, it was a quality lunch, let me tell you. Anyways, I think that's what I had for lunch today. Okay, so all fruit, all vegetables, protein that comes from meat, seafood, beef, lamb, eggs, poultry, pork, bacon. Again, I can make you a nice long list of all the vegetables and all the fruit that are allowed. It is a much longer list than the things that we are taking out. And each thing that's being taken out has a scientific reason for it. It's not like willy-nilly, oh, don't eat this, it's bad for you. No, it has a real reason. We're actually trying to heal the gut. We're trying to change the brain. We're trying to change your habits. We're doing a lot of things here by taking out that list of food. Okay, so after a Whole30, I just want to really hone in on the fact that a Whole30 is a starting place. It's a good place to start your journey or continue your journey if you've already started it. It is not a one and done. It is not a crash course. It is not a diet. It is not a fad. It is not a trend. It is how you start the rest of your life. Again, we're making those good decisions to continue for our life. So after the Whole30, you can reintroduce some of these foods back in, but we're gonna do it very carefully and we're gonna do it the right way. So reintroductions is an actual process. It's not, oh, my 30 days is over, I'm counting down to the end, and on day 31, I'm gonna go to the brewery and get a big old piece of molten chocolate lava cake and an IPA stout and a baked mac and cheese with lobster. It just ain't gonna happen. You're gonna get real sick. So reintroductions is a process, and it's something you have to really think clearly about and decide, is this some food that I really want back in my diet? And if it is, great, Sharissa, what's the best quality version of this food? And I help you find it, and we do it the right way. Okay? So we're gonna change your healthy lifestyle. We're gonna do clean eating. Again, this is not a crash course. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change. And I really wanna make that clear because nothing frustrates me more than clients who do this program with me, do really, really well, feel awesome, lose a ton of weight, look great, have energy, and go right back to the crappy diet. Nothing is more frustrating to me, and nothing takes the wind out of my sails more than that. I want to help you. I want to get better. I have such a bigger mission than 30 days and such a bigger plan for all of you than 30 days. So I don't want to see you go backwards, especially not if you have a hard detox, because that's just going to happen again. Okay. So I'm a nutritionist, as I told you guys at the beginning of this class. I want to do this because I'm very passionate about sharing this information. I'm very passionate about giving you the tools. I don't want to stand up here and scare you and not tell you what to do next. I want to give you the tips. I want to give you the tricks. I want to help you through this process. So I think you can do a Whole30 on your own, but the problem with the Whole30 is it's not specifically tailored to your individual problems. So if you have a reason that you're doing a Whole30, not just because you want to try it because your friends did it, but you actually want to get better and you actually want to see some change, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing it with a coach, i.e. me. I will guide you through this program. I will help specifically tailor it to you, and I charge $200 for that. You get 2 individual sessions with me. You get constant access to me. You're at the grocery store, you're at a restaurant, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to order. You call me, you text me, and I help you right then. You never have to do this process without somebody holding your hand. And that's what I do. I hold your hand through the whole process, and then at the end, I help you through reintroductions. Once you're in my group, you're in my group for life. You can come back and do another one with me anytime that you want, and you stay in my group with that as well. So I have an online Facebook group that's private, that's just for the people who've been through with me. The people who've been through it before act as mentors to the new people who are coming through. You ask a question in the group, you're gonna get 25, 30 responses of people who've been through it before and know exactly what you're doing now. You ask a question about a recipe, I don't know what to eat for breakfast, I'm bored, what do I do? You're gonna get 25 people giving you their recipes of what they did. So it's very valuable what I have to offer, and I do it at such a small price so that I can get everybody included. So that's what I have to offer to you guys. I'll specialize it for you. I'll do that, make it really specific to your needs. And in that way we can do like, hey Sharissa, I've got this problem, this problem, this problem. Great, the Whole30 is gonna help with these, and these supplements are gonna help with that. So I can really tailor it for you. And that's my spiel. You guys have any questions?